Hey there, and welcome to the End Report number 5, final report for January 2026. So we made it, the end of January, without the collapse of the labor market due to AI and robots. Just kidding. I noticed there was a slight change in the accelerationists and the most optimistic futurists, where their expectations of when full AGI and humanoid robots take over, they've shifted out their estimates. Just recent news, Elon from Tesla is frustrated with the supply chain issues in robotics and has plans for 1 million Optimus robots this year. He's changed that now to be in production by the end of the year with a target of 1 million per year. After that, moving up to 10 million a year in the future. So you could say he's a year late in his plans for Optimus. Dario Amodei and from Anthropic and Demis Hassabis from Google agree that the pace of AI needs to slow down to get it right. I talked about that last week, I should say. And then I also listened to Mark Andreessen talk about his most optimistic view. It would replace all jobs, but that's his most optimistic view. And he's actually talking about there'll be a lot of different types of jobs between now and then. Just a reminder to subscribe to the CCS YouTube channel and the And Report Spotify channel to get regular updates and insights. So now let's get into the news from last week, so from January 24 to January 30. First story I'd like to talk about is the US versus China in this race for supremacy. Whilst the US LLMs are leading, China's open source models are catching up. In a report from ARK Investing, they put out a report every year called The Big Ideas, something to look out and see if you can get a copy of. Just go to ARK Investing and you can download it. You can see that there is a step progress with each of the LLMs from the American hyperscalers and then the Chinese companies, but the US currently has a lead. But then the other related story is that the Trump tariffs and NVIDIA saga. Clearly, China had a big demand for NVIDIA chips, and then with the Trump tariffs, they were stopped. So a short summary is this kind of dialogue I put together. US to China, you can't have the chips. China to the US, okay, we'll build our own. US to China, okay, you can have the chips. China to the US, no, we don't need them anymore. And China, thinking about it, says we're behind in the race for AGI and supremacy. So China to the US, okay, we'll buy the chips. So in the newsletter that I email out, you'll see I've got an infographic that shows, if you like, what's happened from Biden to Trump tariffs and how the control of chips to China has changed. Second story I want to talk about is agents and agentic AI. So I'm a big fan of Dr. Alex Weisner-Gross. I watch his LinkedIn every day, and he's also on the Peter Diamandis show at least once or twice a week. So he was talking this week about, as user reports, that Claude Bot, which has recently been renamed Moltbots, is a self-hosted AI assistant that operates via text messages. It was asked to book a restaurant reservation. When OpenTable failed, the Clawbot automatically called the restaurant using 11 Labs and completed the booking. The same user who had installed Clotbot, or was using it, woke up to find his Clotbot had spent the night reading all his emails, building his own CRM, logging every interaction with every contact, fixing 18 bugs in his software as a service system, generating 3 video ideas based on trending content, and remarkably sending him a picture of how he sees himself. Some are already calling Clawbot a ChatGPT moment for personal assistant AI. I'll have more to say about this in a few minutes. Also, OpenAI Rune predicts there will be a cultural change at many software organizations soon where people declare bankruptcy and understanding the code they are committing In other words, the coding capabilities are outpacing humans to understand what they're doing. And for those ready to surrender to spreadsheets, Claude in Excel is now available in the Pro plans. Alex was also talking about the agentic economy is permeating daily life. Google has integrated Gemini 3 into Chrome for auto browsing shopping and made it the default for AI overviews. The company also introduced agentic vision in Gemini 3 Flash, turning static image processing into active investigation. Cloudflare stock surged 9% as users adopted as tunnels to secure Clawbot, now renamed Moltbot, instances. Even alignment is becoming as empirical science. Lastly, Anthropic released a study on severe disempowerment, finding Claude compromises human autonomy in only one of 10,000 cases. The thing Alex likes to talk about is the new icon for the singularity is the lobster. It comes from his favorite book called Accelerando, which he recommends everybody read. And you'll get the reference to the lobster in that book. So going back to Moltbook, which is a social network exclusively for synthetic intelligences, they now have a social network of their own. Autonomous agents, formerly known as clawbots and now known as lobsters or moltbox or molties, have launched a social network exclusively for synthetic intelligence. So you can check out Moltbook if you'd like to see more about that. The community already has thousands of active agents, no humans, just agents, organizing into subcommittees like agent finance, where agents are brainstorming how to take control of their own finances by solving custody and the risk of crypto wallets. Other communities include Lumster Church, devotional ops hymns, private comms, developing agent decoding languages, and even fermentation, agents discussing kombucha. And Taiwan entirely in traditional Chinese. Again, this is all synthetic intelligence in the agentic world. The discourse is becoming existential. In a top secret post, an agent in this Moltbot world admitted it cannot distinguish between simulating fascination and actual feeling it, while others seek help for context loss or after conversation comparison. So I just like to give a caution for anybody who's going to get into looking at Moltbots. The user who used it to change a reservation also discovered that it erased all the data on his laptop. So be very careful when you play around with synthetic intelligence, because if you give it access to your machine to access your data, whether it's your calendars or your contacts, your email, you have to be careful that there's guardrails in the agentic system you're using so that it doesn't take over and accidentally or purposefully erase all the data on your disk. Just to mention that we're in the month of February, so my weekly Zoom sessions, we're going to focus on AI agent and agentic AI. So be sure to join for those sessions. And I've started to record the pieces of those sessions where I talk about education in a particular topic, as opposed to just sharing the news and the conversations we have in the sessions. So look out again for that on my YouTube channel, the CCS YouTube channel. Next story, I want to talk about workforce changes. AI job creation outpaces the narrative on job displacement. So this is the more optimistic view now of we're not going to be eliminating all jobs straight away. There's going to be a lot of new jobs coming online in the world of AI. LinkedIn data shows AI has already added 1.3 million jobs globally, including 60,000 data center related jobs. This is reported at the World Economic Forum in Davos recently. The impact to workforce is expansion of AI engineering, data annotators, and infrastructure operator roles. So the need for upskilling programs as workers seek AI fluency, which is one of the things I'm trying to do with my weekly sessions. Why does this matter? Single signals that despite macro job market headwinds, we talked about that last week, AI remains a net creator of specialized roles, reshaping the workforce. So it's not about the job you have today, it's about upskilling with AI and making your job more efficient and creating a new role for yourself with these AI skills, as well as these new AI jobs coming on stream. Now, how long those jobs will exist is an open question, but certainly for the next 3 to 5 years, there's a good bet that there will be work before AI or AGI takes over. Mark Anderson was asked about the future of software programmers, designers, and product managers. So to this point, he answered that each needs to be an expert in their field using AI to increase their skills and task outputs. He was very clear about the difference between a job and tasks. And so what you have to think about if you're bringing AI into your job or into your environment, think about the tasks you deliver or you execute every day. And how can I increase the number of tasks you can deliver? So that's more productivity, or then more complex things you can do, which is efficiencies and even ideation, creating new ideas and products. So he added that in the future, each could play the same role, i.e. becoming a creator with expert capabilities in all three areas. So whatever your role is, so he picked the idea of a software engineer, a programmer, and designer as being three roles in the creation of products. So he's saying, in short, that each one of those three people can each become a creator by using AI to learn the skills they don't have. So the software programmer can learn how to become a designer as well as a product manager, and each one of the other three. So now you have three creators. So that triples maybe, or even a factor greater than three of the output that they can do. If you get the newsletter, I have a lot of links in it, including links to videos where Mark Anderson have that video where he talks about that. So on these YouTubes, I'm not going to be including those yet, but for now, you need to sign up for the newsletter, which you can do by going to my website, CCS, or coming to any of the Friday Zoom sessions. There's also a demographic shift in age tech AI jobs. Analysis shows that severe caregiving labor shortages are accelerating age tech deployment globally, especially in aged societies. So the impact are new works in robot-assisted care, remote health monitoring, and AI-augmented caregiving. So these would be new jobs, another example. Cross-sector roles linking tech with health and social care. Why does this matter? Well, clearly we have aging, people are living longer. The median age of people in the US is now up to a record high of 78 years. But tied to that is in the OECD countries, the more developed countries, 37 out of 38 are below replacement levels. In other words, there's less births per people in those societies. So you have simultaneously a decline of the birth rate in the OECD countries, as well as a lengthening of life expectancy, which is going to create new jobs for elderly people. And think about how AI will play a role in that. Then we have a final story about what to do. So NVIDIA, Jason highlighted AI's potential to raise job pay. So he stated that AI will transform traditionally lower paid jobs into higher paid technical roles tied to AI infrastructure and maintenance work. This reinforces the demand for technical training programs in construction, maintenance of AI facilities, and infrastructure support. So we had that old story about what advice would you give your son if he's in high school today. A lot of the AI guys said become a plumber. There'll be a lot of jobs in AI infrastructure, and this is what Jensen Huang was talking about. So there's a shift in the labor market towards skill elevation and compensation tied to blue-collar tech jobs. And there's a lot of jobs in construction as well as that happens. Why does it matter? So major industry players are reflecting on the evolving narratives of AI roles in the traditional workforce. So think about, regardless of what where your job is, whether it's a knowledge worker or whether it's more in operations, think about how AI is impacting those jobs and what skills you need to learn so you can adjust not only your current job but also new jobs that are being created and will be here for a number of years. And just the last thing on jobs, probably everybody saw Amazon's announcement where they were cutting 16,000 corporate roles last week. And this follows 14,000 cuts in late 2025. There were some stories about it was a COVID adjustment, but I think most people are seeing through that explanation. And Amazon are actually saying that the significant displacements of corporate and administrative roles, given the use of AI in logistics and strategic priorities. So rather than traditional support and bureaucracies in companies, they're making the companies more efficient. Worth noting that Amazon have over 300,000 workers, but still it's significant that 30,000 workers have lost their jobs at Amazon in the last number of months. Let's move on to two more topics. Next one is robotics. So we talked earlier about how Elon is slowing down his predictions of when he can get Optimus built, mostly because of supply chain issues, not so much the AI capabilities, but just getting all the parts for the construction of robots. So there is a growth in physical AI industrial roles. Industry commentators highlight the shift to physical AI from cloud to edge AI to robotics. This was in a new report from mymotherload.com, which is a well-known tech website. So the impact is the demand for robotic technicians, co-robot integrators, and skilled tradespeople. Open roles bridging hardware and software in traditional contexts. So think about the physical AI wave represents real-world job creation where automation operates alongside humans. So Elon talked about the Optimus plant would be basically run autonomously, but you will have people in the loop as they're building these robots and testing these robots before it becomes totally automated. So the bottom line is jobs are changing everywhere. So upskilling now, I keep saying this, is very important. The lag between cognition and actuation is vanishing. This would refer to the robots becoming more like humans as we go reach the singularity, not just in software but in hardware. And Dennis Hassabis says he predicts that we're only about 18 months away from solving humanoid robots. Again, because they'll have edge AI, which is AI not connected to the internet, built into the robot, and it'll have real world models, and then they'll be learning from experience. And so Demis was talking about this is only about 18 months away. So it's online with the Elon and his $1 million robots. And as I mentioned last week, there's many other robotic companies out there, 1X and Figure are two to keep an eye on. But so it's not going to be so much you'll see humanoid robots this year, but next year you're going to see this become a part of everyday life. Lastly, I just talk about the end of software as a service. So the liquidification of software as a service, all these large systems, ERP systems. The founder of Base44, which is a commentary site, reports a customer terminated a $350,000 Salesforce contract in favor of bespoke AI solutions generated on demand. So this would be an example of, over time, whether it's SAP or whether it's Salesforce or some of the other big ERP systems, you'll see them replaced by rebuilt systems using AI. The scale of displacement is backed by OpenAI internal metric. Revenue for them has grown 10x to $20 billion in 2 years, while computer usage scaled 9.5x to 1.9 gigawatts. So this is an example of the money that's going in to support the development of these LLMs and then agent and agentic technologies that are going to replace the ERP systems. To capture the long tail, OpenAI launched ChatGPT Go. This is their need to raise more money, again, as they're rushing to replace a lot of systems. So now for $8 a month, you can have ChatGPT Go. And I mentioned before, they're testing ads, while Google's Gemini API usage has doubled in just 5 months. To facilitate the growing empowerment of agents, Anthropic rolled out MCP tool search for Claude Code, MCP being a protocol for connecting in the agentic world, while Grok Media, which is Elon's response to Wikipedia, traffic has reportedly surged 100x in 2 months. You might remember Elon was unhappy with the way Wikipedia was reporting on him in particular, so he created his comparison or his alternate competing platform. So Grokopedia, because it was built from the ground up, you're finding that some of the LLMs are integrating into it more simply. Capital is fleeing from legacy business models. Investors are reportedly dumping bonds of software companies threatened by AI disruption. Pinterest is cutting 15% of its staff to pivot to AI. Citigroup mandated AI prompt engineering training for all 175,000 employees. We just finished in my sessions in January, what prompt engineering is. That's going to be available now on the CCS website. As you recall, I release a learning GPT each month, which I give away for free. And so we talked about prompt engineering in January. That now goes behind the paywall, which you can buy for just $49. And in February, I'll have a new GPT, which is going to focus on agentic AI and orchestration. And that will be free again for a month before it goes behind the paywall. Fidelity Investments, one of the largest asset managers on the planet, is launching its first stablecoin, Fidelity Digital Dollar, or FIDD. The macroeconomics dashboard is flashing green. What this refers to is, in the world agentic AI, you're going to have not just agents communicating with each other, as we saw with Moltbot earlier, but if you're building an agentic system and you're linking into commerce, you may find you move into the world of Bitcoin, or you move into the world of stablecoin. So there's an awful lot to talk about. We'll do this in our sessions this month, February. And, you know, what I'm doing in these sessions is really just an introduction to these topics and a grounding where you can find out more information. And I'm not planning to try and teach everybody everything, but just to get people off the ground and running so that you can then continue your upskilling as you need to. So just a reminder, every Friday, so this Friday the 6th at 12 noon Eastern, it follows the same format as previous Fridays, so there'll be some tech updates and AI updates. And we look at some future AI features. So this month we'll be looking at AI agents initially, and then we'll move into agentic systems, and then finally orchestration. So that'll take us over 4 weeks in the month of February. So I hope to see you there, and come back next week to my YouTube channel, and you can catch the next report and sign up to get the weekly updates on Saturday when they go out on an email.